All right, welcome back to a whole new episode of the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show, powered by Big Hits Live and brought to you by the Influencer Council. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Baylin Trujillo. If you can see him, he's back in his car.
Yep.
Baylin, it's football weather, man. I tell you what, I love being able to wear a sweatshirt in Florida.
Yeah, it is football weather. I just got done with the training, which is, again, why I'm in my car driving home from a training session. So it is football weather. It is gorgeous out here. I also run every day, so I love running in this weather, believe it or not. It's just overall, I love it, man. It's getting close to Christmas, and it's just the happiest time of the year, Dan. And unfortunately, it's going to be the saddest time in about 2 weeks when football's over with, and we got to wait another dang 8 months just to see another game. So, but, man, I'm looking forward to this show, man. We got 4 teams to really talk about and highlight. Congratulations to all the teams that represented Central Florida this year, but the Final Four is in the Final Four. So let's get into it, Dan. I'm ready. I'm really excited about this.
We're going to cover the entire playoff bracket, and we got a great show tonight. We got Larry Blustein coming back to help us sort out everything that's going around in state. And then we got the head coach from Jones, Elijah Williams, joining us later in the show. And we've got the head coach from Cocoa, Ryan Schneider, joining us. So, guys, let's get ready. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got Larry Blustein joining us. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show, and we'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Baylin Trujillo. And welcome back, our great friend, Larry Blustein.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Coming to the end, as Baylin said, coming to the end of the season. Kind of bittersweet, but you know what? Then it kind of kicks up the busier time with all the camps and the combines and such. So, but we still have 2 weeks left this week and then Tallahassee. So it's obviously exciting, Dan, as you and I talk a lot about some of the teams that are left. I know that a lot of upsets happen this time of year, so be on your guard this week, teams in the state semifinals.
No doubt about it. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got obviously, the regional finals. We'll know who's going to be playing in the state championships. We're going to know, we got all-star games that are lining up. You got the FACA all-star game here in the end of December. You've got the All-American Bowl coming to Orlando, which is going to be a lot of underclassmen. You've got the Cure All-Star games here in Central Florida. There's so much to talk about. Heck, you got coaches changes. You're going to have transfers all over the place. It's keeping up with all this stuff. But you're right. Well, guys, let's get right into it. We're going to put up our brackets, and let's start with our Class 1S regions here. And, let's start, St. John Paul falls to North Florida Christian, Larry, 24-14 and advanced to the Final Four.
Yeah, well, it was the second time they played them. North Florida Christian loaded up. J.P. Pickles, the quarterback, went over 10,000 yards. A lot of people don't really know a lot about him. He doesn't go to a lot of events, but all the kid does is win. They put him in the opportunity against a really good Cardinal Mooney team, and certainly Jared Clark, the head coach, used to play at Cardinal Mooney, a really good quarterback that went to Notre Dame. And then the bottom bracket, you have last year's state championship game. Trinity of Ocala, John Brantley, a good friend of ours, and against First Baptist Academy, which surprisingly won it all last year. And they're favorites once again. So you got some really, really good teams, and I think it's going to be a competitive state semifinals. Cardinal, like I said, Cardinal Mooney is one of those teams that a lot of people don't hear much about. But we know about Trinity. Trinity with the kid Wright at quarterback, a junior. They got some talent. I think this is going to be a really good foursome, and we'll see what happens come Friday night.
All right, Baylin. Trinity Catholic does take care of Melbourne Central Catholic 38-14. Congratulations to MCC, Coach Nate Hooks, and those guys. But Trinity Catholic does move on, Baylin.
Yeah, man. Great season for Melbourne Central Catholic. That was one of our top 5 teams.
The fact they even got to this far is a great job to them. I honestly think they have one of the better receivers in the entire state of Florida. He's a Cocoa transfer, but at the end of the day, the better teams always show up. And unfortunately, it wasn't Melbourne Central Catholic that night.
Yeah, no doubt. John Brantley, we talked about their schedule this year. We talked about them being battle tested, and, all great teams finish strong, right? And like you said, Larry, John Brantley is just a great coach. He finds a way to get his teams prepared. All right, Larry, a little bit more about this than we do, but Cardinal Mooney takes care of business over Victory Christian, 42-0.
Got talent. They've had talent all year. They've, this is a build. You got a hometown guy as their head coach, somebody who went through the programs, got all that pride. They played a pretty challenging schedule this year. They're ready for that game. And as I said, North Florida Christian got an opportunity, especially with a quarterback and that can play. They've got a bunch of other kids around them. This is going to be an entertaining game. Cardinal Mooney's got that home field advantage, obviously.
All right, then you've got Moore Haven falls to First Baptist Academy, 35-0. Another lopsided score.
Well, as we said, First Baptist Academy is the defending state champions for a reason. Coach Sabrasio's done an awesome job with that program. And they stepped up and they played bigger schools. They played Golden Gate this year. They went up and they played Miami True North, and I think it got them ready. And it's going to be tough to beat them. They've got some really good football players on the team. As is every team in this classification, they're not very deep. And that's the pitfalls of having programs that have 300-400 kids in it. You just don't have all that depth, but they've got a lot of frontline talent, and they're going to be tough to beat.
All right, so you've got the matchup for this Friday night. Now, 3rd seed North Florida Christian is at 2 seed Cardinal Mooney. They will play the winner of the 4th seed Trinity Catholic out of Ocala. I guess number 1 seed First Baptist Academy here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Going to be real interesting.
All right, so let's move on to 2S. Booker takes care of business. Booker, Larry, was a 7 seed, takes care of Bishop Verot, 38-22.
Yeah, well, they won 2 games in a row on the road, and you got to give them a lot of credit. The quarterback, Nate Obaseki, who was I think he was at Southeast, and he went to another school before. He's really rallied them the last couple of weeks. And obviously, Bishop Verot, come on, Bishop Verot is playing as well as anybody. With the kid Carter at quarterback and loaded up front, and, they beat them. And then obviously now they get into the guillotine phase of things against Cocoa, one of the best teams in the state, one of the best teams in the country. And, should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Baylin, Cocoa, once again, they're on that winning side, 34-14 over South Sumner.
Yeah, I think, again, they've played this same matchup the last 3 years, and the same team ends up winning every time, and Cocoa represents well in Central Florida. I believe they're the best team in this entire, region and this entire classification. I don't think we can disagree. Now, they did have a little scare. They were actually down 14-12 at halftime in this matchup. I know some things they missed on some big opportunities, a couple of turnovers, and just kind of just sloppy play, But of course, as good teams do, they get it together. They regroup at halftime, came out and just started strutting them up. And, after that, South Summer didn't even score a single point in the second half. And of course, it was all Cocoa downhill. So I still like Cocoa in this region. I love, what Coach Schneider's doing, and we're going to get to hear from him a little later. Obviously, Brady Hart and Javon Boggs are probably the best duo combination right now consistently every week. I just don't see anybody in this region or this classification to give them much of anything the rest of the way. So look for Cocoa to continue to make big statements.
Larry, Bradford, I'm not surprised the Tornadoes win this game. I was surprised it was 43-0 over Baker County.
Well,
Agreed.
That's their 8th shutout, guys. They're a little bit better than people think. I watched them in person this year. Coach Rogers has done a tremendous job. They've got dudes, and the best part of being in Bradford County is you don't have a lot of schools that can pick you clean. They're close to Keystone Heights is kind of a distance. So is Gainesville. So they get all the kids from that area and they play, and they're stacked. They've got 6 Division I kids, versatile quarterback. Their defense is crazy good. Obviously, I think they win this game against Pensacola Catholic. They're at home. They have an opportunity to do some really good things and then brace themselves for a state title game. When I saw Coach Rogers earlier in the season, guys, he told me, you know what? The only thing I don't want to be is on the same side as Cocoa. And he got his wish. So he gets an opportunity to go to state. Bradford County hasn't been to state in a long, long time. Give him an opportunity to get there. Obviously, as we found out against South Sumter last week, Cocoa is human at times. And I think that, they're going to have to kind of put their big boy pants on. And, I agree with what you guys and with Baylin, what he's saying. I think Cocoa definitely the class of this 2S and certainly one of the best in the state.
And obviously Pensacola Catholic takes care of FSU High 17-10, which sets up Booker at Cocoa this Friday night, and then Pensacola Catholic travels to Bradford. Let's move on to 3S. Larry, Lake Wales.
Watch out.
Lake Wales and Vanguard. Vanguard puts it on them. 52-15.
Vanguard's a tough team to really figure out. They got waxed by Gainesville Buchholz earlier this year, but yet then they come up with some monumental games. And as well as I do, Lake Wales is a pretty darn good team. And for them to hang a 50 spot on them, that's impressive.
Larry, they also got spanked by South Sumter.
Exactly. So they, like I said, Baylin, they're kind of hard to figure out to come up. And South Sumter's not bad. Coach Lawrence has done a tremendous job. They're just not at Coco's level. But I think, this game is going to be a really, really big test for Coach Rowland. You got to figure Mainland's played extremely well. One loss, obviously, to Lake Mary, and then Lake Mary was on that night, and Mainland wasn't. But Mainland has as much talent as anybody. Outstanding, athletes everywhere. But I think this is going to be a good one. I think this is going to go down to the wire. Both teams are capable of scoring. Both teams are capable of playing defense.
Yeah, and obviously Mainland gets there by taking care of Sebring 35-14. That sets up Vanguard at Mainland this Friday night. Now, the other side of this, Choctawhatchee, they fall to St. Augustine 35-26.
Yeah, so no shame in that. But I'll tell you what, you got to give Choctawhatchee a lot of credit. Coach Beasley's done a tremendous job in the couple of years that he's been there. He's kind of revitalized that program. They have kids. And then to travel all the way to St. Augustine, which I believe is an 8-hour ride for them, it was kind of a task. And John Santucci, our friend, and we had an opportunity to watch St. Augustine during the summer. They're stacked. I mean, they got some kids. They fully felt that if they could get over a couple of hurdles, they could be in Tallahassee, and they got a good chance against Dunbar, definitely.
Yeah, and Baylin, Naples takes care of Dunbar 12-10. That sets up St. Augustine hosting Naples Friday night. Baylin, Mainland's got Vanguard. We've seen Fred Gaskin. We know what Mainland's got. And Baylin falls off. So we'll wait for him to come back on here in a second.
I believe, Dan, I think Dunbar won the game 12-10.
Oh, Dunbar won that game.
Yeah, Dunbar won that game. So they
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Dunbar is at
play.
St. Augustine. My bad.
Right.
Obviously,
That's okay.
putting these slides together is quite a bit. All right, let's move on.
I mean, in Dunbar last year, if you remember, they played Mainland and came pretty close to to get into that to get in the finals last year. Now they'll have another opportunity, but it's a long ride to St. Augustine, and certainly the talent that the Yellow Jackets have is going to be really, really a challenge for them, certainly. And we'll clue Baylin in. It's actually Dunbar that's in the game, not Naples.
All right, let's move on to Class 4S. Venice takes care of Riverview 49-23. Larry.
Well, we know Venice. I mean, they're stacked. As certainly Baylin knows, Jaden Glasser's had a great year, really good quarterback, good sized kid. And they've got a lot of talent around them, really good defensively. The Daly kid's going to Duke. That's a tough team to beat. But, and I say but, on the other side of the ledger is DeLand, and you can never sleep on a Rick Darlington team. I don't care when it is, where it is. This guy's one of the best coaches we have and have had in a long time. I think Venice has got a little bit of an advantage being home and not having to travel the 7 hours or the 6 hours, whatever it is, all the way on the other side of Orlando, having to come across the state to play. But I'll tell you what, if any team can do it, it's DeLand. They're a resilient team. They beat a real good Treasure Coast team on the road. Beat them good too.
They beat them good, Larry.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this last week of two single wing offenses. It'd be over in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But Baylin, TJ Moore put on a show.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, he's special talent. But I'm gonna be honest, man. You can't beat the master. It's like me as a trainer. I bet on myself every time. And from what I know and the information I was told, Darlington helped that coach in different ways in the single wing. So he knew what was happening before it was even happening. They were saying players were calling out their plays before it was even happening. So when you talk about going against a guy who's already mastered that offense, you're in some serious trouble. When they know what keys to look at and they're calling it out in mid-play, saying this is your play, you have no chance. So Treasure Coast honestly went into a game where they're playing the coach that has perfected that single wing, has won at all levels with that single wing. I mean, he is a legend. And of course, I'm a big spread guy, and TJ Moore is special when it comes to the quarterback position, and he runs that offense to a T. I think he does perfectly, and he fits that system well. So honestly, I think that this matchup favors them in ways. Venice lost in the trenches against Cocoa. They couldn't do anything. And I think this is where obviously DeLand, they live. They live in the trenches. They want to go up front. They want to beat you and grind it out. And I think, with the abilities that TJ Moore has in the pass game, which we saw against Treasure Coast, they had no answer for. DeLand is going to be scary, man. And I think DeLand has a shot to win this game and find themselves in the state title game.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Larry, how about Bartram Trail and Buchholz? Buchholz continues to roll 37-17.
A lot of talking going on one side and a lot of disrespect from the other. So I think that people don't believe that Buchholz belongs, and we find otherwise. The last couple of years, they've been really, really good. Coaching change doesn't matter. They got some studs, on both sides of the ball. They're home. But some reason Lakeland peaks at this time of year. It's sort of like that blood in the water type of thing. They smell it. They're the defending state champions. They've had a rougher year this year. New coach, Coach Frazier, has done a tremendous job. And I think a lot of people are going to find out a lot about two teams this week. And certainly we know Lakeland has always been a Lakeland type of team. But I think Buchholz is out for more than just winning this game. They want to be respected on a statewide basis.
And Baylin, speaking of Lakeland, Lake Mineola goes there to play a football game, and I think a basketball game broke out. Lakeland wins 77-48.
Yeah, I was actually just now training Jackson Hughes, who had a phenomenal year, 37 touchdowns, 3,700 yards, had a special year for Lake Mineola as a quarterback. And I just talked a little bit about the game today, and, he told me that Lakeland scored a lot of trash and mop-up points in the fourth quarter when the game was already kind of in hand. But, yeah, this is the most points they've ever scored against Lakeland, 49 points. Great.
And we lost Baylin there. So we're going to move on, Larry. How about Class 1M? Archbishop Carroll takes care of True Day Christian 38-35. That was a close game.
A real big surprise. Just to let you know that if anybody runs a true wing, it's Archbishop Carroll. Coach George Zagales has done it for years and years. We got a feature coming out on him for tomorrow. What a great job. And you know how you say that there's a good and bad. I think all is good. No matter what happens, they're playing the number 2 team in the country. A team that hasn't lost in the regular season in 3 years. I was just talking, Baylin, about Archbishop Carroll. You talk about a true wing T team. Coach Zagales has done this for years and years and years. They pull a big surprise on Zach Katz and True North last week, and Zach still threw for 358 yards. So you know that, and it's big. It's probably one of the biggest thing that's ever happened to Carroll. They're 12-1, but they go up against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country, and Shaman Ahmadana, who over the last 4 games, guys, outscored the opposition 309-0. So
Jeez.
this will show you a little bit where they're peaking right now. And but
we expect that. They took care of
that
Cardinal
top side,
Newman.
we know.
They took care of Cardinal Newman 40-0. That sets up Archbishop Carroll at Chaminade Friday night. Then we move down. Carrollwood Day falls to Clearwater Central Catholic 45-41.
Well, the first one was 26-25. And when we saw Clearwater Central Catholic, when they came down to play Cardinal Gibbons, we talked to Coach Harvey and some of the kids about that game, and they said, well, you know what, in a couple of weeks, we got probably going to get them again. They did. This game was really a good game. Kind of gets them ready to be a host team. They're one of the 8 undefeated teams going into the state semifinals. They're 13-0. They're a really good football team, but they're going to be welcoming a really good football team. Trinity Christian is probably one of the most successful football teams in the state of Florida over the last 3 decades. Coach Dorman, he's done an awesome job. They're going on the road. They have the kid Hurley, who could be playing in his final high school game before going to LSU. They have a lot of talent on the team. This is going to be what I think. This is going to be a lot like the Carrollwood Day game for them. It's going to go back and forth, and the winner probably won't win by more than 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Trinity Christian takes care of OCP. Coach D, OCP, we love you guys. They fall 48-20, and that puts Trinity Christian on the road to Clearwater Central. All right, Class 2M, guys. Bowles takes care of Bishop Moore, Baylin, 34-14.
Yeah, great season for Bishop Moore. They have nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, look at the teams remaining in this entire region. Honestly, that was a successful season. They have nothing to be ashamed of. They won, I believe, 9 or 10 games straight, and put themselves in a position to be here. And, we're still talking about them after Thanksgiving. So I think that's a really good, position that Bishop Moore is in. And great job to that coaching staff, and great job of turning that around, because remember, they started off 0-3.
Yeah.
And so and of course, those 3 losses were not bad losses. Those were some tough opponents, including Edgewater in that. So, I mean, it is what it is. But Bjorn Jorgensen played phenomenal football. They started to throw the ball more, which we haven't seen in a long time from Bishop Moore. And it sent them to this position, the regional finals. So Great job to Bishop Moore, and Bowles, as we know, is a powerhouse historically in their state championship program. They've sent guys to big major college football programs, and they got a couple big time commits there. And there's nothing to be ashamed of, man. So congratulations to Bishop Moore, and that's pretty much what I got to say about that.
Yeah,
and Larry, they're going to play against Norland. Norland takes care of Central, 31-28.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was unlike the first game when Central ran out to a 20-0 lead. This time Norland ran out to a 28-7 lead, had to hold on and won it in overtime on a field goal. But I just want to kind of get a little bit added to what Baylin said about Bowles. Bowles has lost 5 games this year. 4 of those losses were the teams that are still alive. So it tells you how competitive they are. And I told the guys at Norland, I said, you can't sleep on Jacksonville Bowles. Last year, American Heritage slept on them and only won 14-7 in this game. Norland has so much talent from day one when they beat Lakeland, and they had 710 yards of offense against Lakeland, 49 points, and a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh!" Well, Norland hasn't stopped. They're the highest scoring team in the state. They average nearly 49 points a game. They're really a juggernaut. They're loaded in every the big line on both sides of the line of scrimmage, but they're vulnerable to making mistakes. And as well as I do, guys, you open the door on Bowles, and you're gonna keep them in the game for 4 quarters. You better watch out and you better hold on, because they're well coached. Norland has so much talent. If they play their game, this won't be a game. But if they don't, hold on.
I tell you what, Calvary Christian falls to Berkeley Prep 31-27. That sets up, Larry, Berkeley Prep at American Heritage. They take care of Cardinal Gibbons 47-35.
Yeah, district rematch where they beat them really good the first time around, 42-14. This time was a 47-35 game. They kept it within 12. Heritage, I'll tell you what, they they are. I mean, you got to give, and you and I talk about this, Dan. You got to give Mike Smith maybe the state coach of the year. You lose a top flight running back who's starting at a Power 5 school. You lose a wide receiver who's now at Ohio State. You lose 3 linemen that are playing Power 5 football, and you lose a quarterback, who really guided them last year, and you're still 10-1, and you have and their only loss was to Chaminade, but they got behind 17-0 and made it a game. Berkeley Prep is a lot better than people think. They've been in every game. They don't blow people away, but the problem for Heritage is they've got to separate themselves early, just like Norland has to separate themselves early to make sure that they win this game. Don't leave these 2 teams in the fourth quarter, guys, because if you do, there could be an upset.
All right, let's move on to 3M. Jones takes care of business, 24-21 at Tampa Bay Tech, Baylin.
Yeah, they dominated this football game, and we see that the score is, respectful, but Jones jumped out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. Like, they hopped on them early, kind of like, what Norland did. And they dominated, they controlled the game. And then, of course, with mistakes and undisciplined football, you let a team like, Tampa Bay Tech hang around, they're going to hit big shots and make this thing close. But I watched the entire game, and from my standpoint, obviously the score is close, but it wasn't even close. And Jones, they're using both quarterbacks. Actually, a crazy stat here, both quarterbacks went perfect. Darion went, I believe, 7 for 7, and Trevor went like 15 for 15 or 11 for 11. Both had over 100 yards passing. Both had several touchdowns. So rushing, and then a couple throwing for Darion. But overall, man, I'm telling you, this Jones team is scary. I watched him against Edgewater. We talked about it all year, Dan. You don't want to play Coach 1 in the playoffs. He's going to find his way to get to this Final Four game. He's done this. He's won the regional championship, 4 of the last 5 years. And the other year they lost was, when they lost to Edgewater. So this is just a special team. And I believe, Coach Will is, like I said, you're going to hear from him later on today. I was at their practice today. Those guys are machines. They're oiled machines. They do everything the right way, and they're big discipline. And unfortunately, Tampa Bay Tech, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When you talk about the talent compared from Tampa to Central Florida, I believe there's a big separation. I mean, we had a Jesuit team also lose, we're going to probably talk about next, who also lost by 5 touchdowns to Jones in the Kickoff Classic. So, I think the talent here in Central Florida is just that much of a separation. I don't think Jones was ever worried in this game.
Yeah, and Jones is going to be heading down to Homestead, Larry. Homestead takes care of business 22-17 over Miramar.
Little bit of a revenge match here. I think Jones kind of remembers what happened last year when Homestead went up there and kind of surprised them. To be honest, guys, Homestead hasn't played extremely well. They're 12-1, but they just got by Miramar by 5 last week and only got by a South Ridge team that they beat by 29 in the district championship and only by 2. I think they make way too many mistakes. They're going to open a lot of doors for Jones. I think Jones sees the moment. The 6-hour ride is going to be or 5-hour ride is going to be a little bit of, and so they'll take it early, get out down there, have their pregame meal, and I think they're going to be ready to play. I mean, this isn't going to be a hugely well-attended game, so it's not going to be any home field advantage other than Jones having to travel. I think they're ready. Like I said, they remember last year. They robbed them out of an opportunity to go to state.
No doubt about it. And as you mentioned, Baylin, Gaither takes care of Jesuit 31-24.
Yeah, I watched that game right after the Jones game. I flipped it over on NFHSA Network. Shout out to them. Thanks for showing the games for $11.99. If you haven't signed up, go subscribe, whatever. But yeah, I flipped over to that, man. What a finish that was. I was in communication with the Jones coaches the entire time. Of course, they wanted Gaither for the upset so they can see Homestead in the Final Four. Like Coach Mr. Larry said, they want revenge. They want the revenge tour. They're doing it on the road this year. They're the Road Warriors. Coach Will didn't want it any other way. He said, I want to knock off Edgewater, who beat us early in the year, and they want to knock off Homestead, who had a 10-point lead last year at halftime. They're up 10-0, and they lost to Homestead in a surprise game, 14-10, I believe. So, they don't forget. And Coach Will loves this scenario. And of course, Jesuit, they sold, man. They were 4th and goal, threw a slant route. The kid dropped it. Ball game. Gaither wins. Obviously, that was a rematch game. I believe Jesuit won only by a couple points in the regular season. So I know Gaither wanted this rematch. They scored late in the fourth quarter, descended to overtime, got the ball first, and on the first play of the game, or first play of overtime, they did a quarterback draw, and the kid scored a touchdown. So they went up a touchdown, and then from that point, it was just 4 downs hard, and Gaither got the job done. So congratulations, but I think their season ends Friday night in a dramatic fashion. I don't think it's close, but I'm excited for the opportunity to see Jones versus St. Thomas in the final.
And Larry, St. Thomas Aquinas is obviously in there.
I think it's
Coconut
time to
Creek,
move on to 4M.
Let's go ahead and go on to 4M.
Nah.
St. Thomas is there. How about Mandarin take care of Seminole 28-24? Mandarin's in the Final Four. They're going to go up against Monarch, who took care of Palm Beach Central 35-13.
Well, this is going to be an interesting game because I know that Mandarin is a really good football team, and I don't think that they're taking this game serious because Region 3, there's no mistake, it was easily the weakest region in 4M. But Monarchs, they answered every call. Their games that they lost this year, obviously to St. Thomas, but who doesn't? They had their quarterback was out most of the year, and they had to use freshman quarterback, but AJ's back now. I just think that Mandarin has too much. I really do. Their secondary's crazy. Jamie French is really good. Their quarterback play has really been good, really solid. They're big up front. The Derek Plass kid's going to Miami. But in talking, they most of the people from Mandarin thought that Monarch was a private school. Where did that school ever come out? I was like, Sumner. People goes, where the heck is Sumner? So you come up with these schools, but Monarch's been around for 25, 30 years. They just never had, they've had Calvin Ridley, obviously, and Jerry Jeudy and guys like that. But, they got a great receiving core, and A.J. Harrison throws the ball. It's going to be awfully tough for them to knock off Mandarin. The only advantage they get is Mandarin's got to make the 6-7 hour drive.
Yeah, and Hank Brown and Tampa Plant take care of business 20-14 over Sumner. That sets up a matchup with Columbus, who takes care of Western 31-13, Larry.
Well, last week, Western's up 13-3 in this game, running the Wildcat. Their quarterback, Davy Belford's been out, got hurt in the last game, so he couldn't play. They had to use Kobe Howard, and still up 13-3. I will tell you this: if they had Davy Belford, they would have won the game. They would have won the game. And Baylin, Davy's he's a hustler. He's a hard worker. He throws the ball well. He runs the ball well. And that's the thing. They tried to throw the ball when they're up 13-3 instead of milking the clock. And and that hurt. And obviously, Columbus has got the pedigree. They were defending state champions. They've played in pressure situation. They just got their quarterback back, although he's not really 100%. I just think Tampa Plant is so well coached, and they've got two kids that play quarterback, and one throws, one runs. And the only thing is one of their best players is going to be out this week, the running back who's really, really good. But I'm telling you, Plant's one of those teams that can come in and take this thing to 4 quarters.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, guys, we got to take a quick break. We got Coach Elijah Williams.
Dan, I gotta say something, man. I have to say something about this.
Of course you do.
I think this is Mandarin's championship to lose. I think they're the most impressed team only because look who they beat. They had to go through Lake Mary, who I thought was going to win the state title this year. Then you had Seminole, who was definitely the second best team, and they beat them at Seminole, which is really tough to do. Yeah. And I think, like what Mr. Larry said, look at their team. They have all the pieces to win a state title. Their whole secondary is Power 5. The quarterback's Florida State commit. You got an Alabama commit at receiver. Your offensive line is phenomenal, and they got a Miami kid on the D-line and O-line. This is the year for Mandarin, and they showed it. I didn't believe in Mandarin. I saw them lose by dang near 20 points to Lake Mary early in the year. They lost to, I would say, a struggling Bartram Trail, who was, battling some injuries at quarterback with Riley Trujillo. And then you got Columbus, who should have lost to Western. I'll be honest with you, and that was a tough one for me because I trained Davi, and those conversations were hard throughout the week. He knew he couldn't play. He has a broken fracture in his ankle. He suffered in the final drive against Palmetto, and that stinks. And if he plays, they don't run the Wildcat. They threw a pick 6 in the fourth quarter, and then the very next drive, a fumble for a touchdown. So, Columbus scored 35 points or 28 points in literally 7 minutes left in the game. So the game looked lopsided, but Western was in control. But, man, this is tough. But I believe Mandarin, based off their wins against Seminole Lake Mary, who I believe were the two best teams in the entire region, regardless of sides, Mandarin's the team to beat, man. And I think they landslide through this.
All right, guys, we got Coach Will. We've got Coach Schneider in the green room. We got to take a quick break. We're going to have Coach Elijah Williams from Jones. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Larry Blustein, and of course, Baylin Trujillo. Welcome to the show. We finally get some coaches on. This show's been rolling so much over the past year, the entire season. Coach Will, Jones Tigers, the Road Warriors. Coach, welcome to the show. Can you hear us?
Coach Will, you there?
It's going in and out. Say it again, Dan. Hey, how you doing?
No, welcome. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Can you hear me okay? All right, great. So
can you hear me?
let's start with
Yes.
with the Jones Tigers. It's been one heck of a season. I tell you, I think this is the one season that, had to kind of get your heart going a little bit. You play the opener against Cocoa. In my opinion, the only team that has played with Cocoa this year other than St. Thomas Aquinas, right? You guys started off really well. You had a very, very difficult first part of that schedule. Where is the team right now? It seems like the last 7 weeks you guys have been rolling.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
Yeah, it was breaking up real bad. I think I heard, but that's the reason we played that schedule. To get to this point, we wanted to be behind some games and see how our kids reacted. We wanted to be in some tough situations, some dire need games at the end, to be battle proven. So, our schedule was set up like that. And like you said, we played Cocoa pretty tough. We felt we should have won that game, like most coaches do. But we fell short. We played a good.
All right, looks like he's coming out. Baylin, why don't you go ahead and text him, and we'll bring him back in. We're going to bring Schneider in here right now.
Okay.
All right, we got Coach
Schneider,
Ryan.
there he is.
Sorry to make you wait. Coach Will's having some technical issues. We're going to get right in with you. What a season you guys have had. It just every week it's got to be a challenge to have your group of guys get ready for that next opponent.
It's actually, I wouldn't call it a challenge. Our kids are focused and hungry. I've been blessed to have a really professional coaching staff that every week we're excited about the challenge we face week in and week out. And the kids are locked in. They've been locked in since day one. Now they're locked in. We're the staff, we're the team on the bus ride back last year after winning the state championship. We're already discussing about, what do we need to get better at for next year? We're just a locked in group that's focused and excited to play football, excited to represent our school of Cocoa High School and the great city of Cocoa. And we look forward to every week the challenge that the state of Florida throws at us. And we're excited for it. We're excited to play football.
Larry?
Yeah, no, I you want to speak about that because I'll speak about this. We obviously knew a person to replace was definitely at the high of the chalkboard talk about next year was the Blake Boda situation, right? So he comes in as an historical year. Obviously, I'm gonna be honest. Like, of course, I've trained Blake, so I said, man, Coco's your best chance to win state. Sure enough, boom, it happens. So then there's this little fella coming up in the ranks, and he's a baseball kid. He comes and trains with me, and I look him dead in the face with his dad. I said, look. You want the opportunity to put your son on a big stage. We're going to go to Cocoa, and I don't care. You're not going to ask any questions. We're going to get you to Cocoa, and I'm going to make it happen for you. And they believed in it. And then out of nowhere, here comes this little guy. You like, who is this kid on campus? And now look, he's arguably the best quarterback in the state of Florida. That was a big addition to Cocoa, I believe. Obviously, with Javon Boggs, who I believe is the best receiver in the state other than Jeremiah Smith. They're 1 and 2 right there. But my goodness, talk about the addition of Brady Hart, what he meant to the program. Obviously, Blake Boda is still arguably the best quarterback right now, too, walking through. You've had some good ones tonight. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, look at your pedigree of the quarterbacks you've had. I mean, my goodness, I believe you've trained the best of the best and coached them. And now you got Brady Hart falling in line with some of these guys. And I just want you to talk a little bit about Brady Hart and what he means to the program, because we, obviously that was a big question mark. Who's going to replace Blake Bowden?
We've been lucky enough to, with the style of play we play, to attract some really good quarterbacks, and just not good quarterbacks, but really good human beings. And Brady came in, and he's cut from that cloth. He's an unbelievable quarterback. But the thing I'm more proud about is the type of person he is. He's a kid that grinds. He eats, sleeps, and breathes football every day. He works his butt off. He's asking great questions. He wants to know as much as he can know. And as a sophomore, I really respected him because early on you can see the kids already gravitating around him. You can see the kids, following him, and he wasn't. Sometimes as a young guys, coming to Cocoa can be a little overwhelming, and he handled it like a professional. And he's a great quarterback. He has an extremely bright future. And we just need to make sure we're improving every day with him, and keep pushing to be the best that he can be. I told him today, if you want to be Division I, you got to be Division I all the time. You can't hit 5 throws and miss 3 because you suck. You got to be Division I all the time. That dude. Yeah. And he accepts that challenge, and he's a pleasure to coach. He comes from a great family, a great mom and dad, and the entire family. And he's going to be a special one. I think he's going to have the chance to go down as one of the best to ever do it in the state of Florida.
Love that.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Congratulations.
Hey, buddy.
Glad to see you as always.
Sure.
Big both games, Seminole game last week. You felt you had a slow start in the first half. What do you say to the kids at halftime? Because you guys have been a great second half team this year.
Yeah, I mean, we pride ourselves on playing the toughest schedule we can play in the regular season. And literally at halftime last week, no one was excited. No one was going nuts. It was just, guys, calm down. The mistakes we've made are because of us. And, we've been here before. We've been down before. We've faced adversity before. One of the phrases we always talk about is how are you going to handle adversity? So literally, I mean, I walked in the locker room and the kids were sitting there. And the first thing I said is, hey, guys, right now, how are we handling adversity? Adversity is looking in the face. How are we going to handle it? And the kids stayed locked in. The kids stayed focused. The coaches did a great job staying calm and just making good adjustments. And we were able to dominate a really good team in the second half. South Sumter is an excellent team.
And you've had them the last couple of years as well. You have Booker coming up. Here's a team that was a 7th seed, and obviously they've played pretty well. Certainly not at the level you guys are at. But how do you prepare for a team like this?
No, they're an excellent team. I mean, yeah. I know people don't know, and 7th seed, they see that, but they've been playing really good football the last, last 5 weeks. You beat Bishop Verot, you beat Fort Meade, you're playing pretty damn good football.
Right.
And, their coach has done a great job having them believe in what they're doing. They have athletes all over the place. They're a dangerous team. They're a team that do multiple things offensively that we have to be ready for. And we're just, the message we started going with probably after the St. Thomas game was, it doesn't matter who we're playing. It matters what we do.
Right.
We control how we're going to play. We control how we're going to execute. We control how we're going to face adversity. We control how we're going to act. And we've just been focusing on being the best Cocoa Tiger on and off the field, in the classroom, at home, that we can be. And the kids have really bought into that. So I told our guys, since the playoff run has started, is I don't care who we're playing. It doesn't matter. We have to respect everyone. But we control if we're going to win or lose. And that's just the way we feel right now.
Coach, one of the things about, we go back to Brady Hart, and I don't want to make this all about Brady Hart, but what really impressed me, and you talked about his leadership, but what impressed me the times I've been around him is his maturity. And considering your offense, you've put a lot on his shoulders this year as a sophomore. That's got to excite you for what you potentially could have with him over the next 2 years.
Yeah, so in the offseason, we met with the Florida State staff, and we kind of changed. We won the state championship. We kind of changed how we call plays and started tagging stuff more and just doing a little bit different philosophies and different ways to do the no huddle. And it puts a lot more in the quarterback. And we've thrown a lot on his plate, but he can handle it. He's a great kid. He's a extremely smart kid. He takes it dead serious, like I said, and he handles it. And the future's bright for him. But you never know what tomorrow brings. You never know what's going to happen. We have to focus. We just have to focus on being the best we can be today, and pray to God tomorrow we're successful. And we're in a really good mindset now. We're in a really good spot, and I'm excited for this team. I am excited for the way we're playing. I'm excited for the city of Cocoa because it's a great city that a lot of people don't know this how wonderful it is, and I'm looking forward to seeing us play this Friday.
Larry?
No doubt, Coach. Obviously, I've followed you guys all year. It's got a chance to run into you in the off season. And that's one of the questions I ask a lot of the guys that are around now. You're here in the state semifinals, and I know you're a big proponent of what you do May, June, July, and early August kind of shows up now. Talk about that, because I think that's important, because, a lot of people don't see you away from the season. They don't know how much work you guys are putting in, going to line camps, going to quarterback camps, going to 7-on-7. How beneficial has that been to your success?
It's I love what I do. We love what we do. And it never stops. Literally, like I said, we won the state championship last year. We're on the bus ride home talking about what do we need to get better at. We started lifting weights in January. I think the first week back from school, from the winter break, we're in the weight room and our kids are focused. And you get all the way through spring football, and then the summer doing all the damn camps and 7-on-7s. It's nonstop, but we love it. We love it, and it's an honor. That's a big thing. I know we don't get paid, coaches. We don't get paid, and it is what it is. It's an honor for me to be around just not the players, but the coaches, the assistant coaches, every day. It's literally I'm literally about to go out with a bunch of my coaches right now. It's literally, it's what I live for. It's what I do it for. It's for the moments, around the kids, around the coaches, around the program, around everyone. It keeps me young. It keeps me feeling relevant. It keeps my drive going, and I love it. I can't imagine living life without it. Can't imagine living life doing something different. I wake up every day blessed, just not being at Cocoa, but blessed being a high school coach.
Hey, Coach, we talked a lot about.
Go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was about to say, we talked a lot about your offense. Talk about your defense. Your defense has stood up in a lot of key times this season. Let's talk about what those guys have done, because that's the other side of the coin here. That's what makes you guys the team you have been this year. So
the kids taught me the new saying is it hits different. It hits different. We have grown men playing defense that hit different, and it just is what it is. We returned our entire box from last year, and they're all bigger and stronger and faster, and they fly around, and we're able to get pressure rushing forward and playing coverage and stopping run games with 5-6 people committed to the run, and Coach Matt Diesel and our defensive staff have done an unbelievable job putting our kids in the right position to be successful. And the kids about it, and I'm proud of Coach Diesel and the staff. If you watch us play defensively, we don't do one thing. 1 week we might be in a 3-man front, next week 5-man front, next week even front. We're bringing multiple blitzes, we have so many coverages in, call coverage. What the hell is that? And, we're running this. Well, it's awesome, and he's putting stuff in every week to take away what offenses do well. And one of the things we kind of did as a staff is, when we started going on this run, we're actually practicing like it's spring football. We're not even doing scouts. We're doing 1-versus-1s every day, just staying sharp, we're being smart. We're not going to the ground. We're staying up, but we're, best versus best, competing every day and pushing each other every day. If, you're at practice today, it was intense. It was a bunch of, guys talking crap and guys flying around, competing against each other, still loving each other, still, wanting everyone to be successful. But, sometimes practice is a beautiful thing when you come out to Cocoa, because the level of competition that you see. Our guys are flying around playing great football right now. And, it's both sides of the ball, all 3 phases. We're doing some really good things.
Go ahead, Larry.
Now, I was going to say, Coach, how much have you heard from your ex-teammate about your receiver? Because your receiver he's one of the best in the country, obviously.
Yeah, I talk to Kevin all the time. Kevin's a great, doing a great thing. Doing a great job representing Plantation High School. He's a receiver coach at the University of Miami. He's doing a wonderful job. So, Javen, he grew up Ohio State fan. Once he got the Ohio State offer, it's pretty much over. Right. He's a great receiver. But the thing I'm more proud of him about is just not the receiver. It's the human being that he is. He's an awesome kid in the school. He's great off the field. He's a leader. He's not a big talker. He's quiet, but he's just he's someone I really appreciate. His work ethic and the way he does things and the way he takes care of his business every day on and off the field. I'm just really proud of him. He is what we want as a Cocoa Tiger, a kid that's no nonsense, tough as hell, competes every day, competes in the classroom, competes on the field. Is a good person, and we're extremely proud of him. And he's a special one.
Great family too.
Yes, sir. Excellent family.
Baylin?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm the biggest fan of Cocoa. I mean, people think that I'm with Jones. I'm just as excited about Cocoa and their staff. I've been blessed enough to build relationships with Coach Schneider and Coach Franco, and obviously I trust my top quarterbacks to even step foot on their campus because I know what they do with all these players that come through Cocoa. If there's a standard, they meet the standard every year. I mean, you come to Cocoa to win state champions. You don't come to win games or district. You come to win the big trophy.
Hey,
that's the standard.
We're like the one school who makes it to the regional finals and no one cares, or
right. It's expected. It's just expected.
My first year we lost a state championship game, but we have no idea where that trophy even is. Like a box of silver medals in the closet because the kids didn't even want the silver medals. And it is what it is. It's plus, and that's what I love about Cocoa. That's why I love being here. Like, if you're not trying to be the best you can at what you do, then why are you doing something? If you're not trying to be the best student, best football player, best whatever. If you're not trying to be the best, why do it? And that's what I love about Cocoa. It's the standard's a standard, and it's a very special place. I'm blessed to be here.
Yep, and that goes right into your first 5 or 6 games. I believe, if anybody's to be honest, those are 5, 6. It could be state championship matchups. I mean, they were the biggest games in the entire state of Florida.
And there goes Baylin again.
But off of what you're saying with what we played schedule-wise, that's why when, we're playing a really good South Sumter team and we're down at half, no one was panicking. We're like, we've been here before. We've played good teams. We've played, really good coaches who are doing different coverages. We'll make our adjustments. We'll stay calm and play our game, and we're fine. There was no one hitting the panic button. The panic button wasn't even getting, taken out. It was just stay calm, let's play our game, and we'll be fine. And that's why we play the schedule we play, so for those moments.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on with us today. Good luck on Friday night. Obviously, here in Central Florida, we're rooting for the Cocoa Tigers to get back to Tallahassee, and so many great things you've got going on over there. We're gonna go ahead and let you go. I know you got a busy night, guys. That's Ryan Schneider, the head coach from Cocoa. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. We got Elijah Williams back with us right after this break.
Everything in that backpack.
All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Larry Blustein. Baylin has ghosted us again, and we've got back Coach Elijah Williams from Jones. Coach, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show.
Hey, Dan. How you doing, Coach? Larry?
Coach, obviously we talked about the game this week against Homestead. There's so many reasons for you guys to be motivated. Having to be on the road, losing the lead last year, having to live watching them go on and play St. Thomas last year in the state championship game. I know that you take one game at a time, but now you're at this game. This is the game where your kids have to be focused in on. Obviously, we both know this is not the same Homestead team as last year. I mean, they barely beat Miramar last year, barely beat last week, barely beat Southridge the week before. They make a lot of mistakes. Talk about how you guys are game planning for this. Obviously, you're going to go in there with your best, but how much did you learn from last year's loss?
Well, it's kind of like every loss. I think we've lost. We've lost 4 out of the last 5. We've been in 4 out of the last 5 regional champions, and every one has came down to one play. The room for error is so minimal, and we just try to harp that. And you really can't look at how well or how bad they played against another opponent. I mean, we was in a dogfight versus Wakaba, which is a 5-5 team. We was in a dogfight with Tampa Bay Tech. So you never can say, whether the game is going to be easy or not because of their schedule. Because anybody can play a perfect game and they can beat you in the playoffs. So we've been harping on just the little things. We know we can play. We know they can play. It's going to come down to who can minimize, who can stop from making those small detailed mistakes that ends up being huge in the outcome of the game.
Coach, let's talk about the beginning of the season. What were the lessons you felt like your team learned the first 3 or 4 weeks that really kind of set the tone for where you guys are playing right now?
But it's two factors. For one, it's hard to get a game in Orange County. So we have to go out and play teams, and we welcome that challenge. And then we want to play a tough schedule. So, when you get in the playoffs, you've seen everything. I practice this. I mean, you can ask. We practice maybe once or twice a week during the playoffs. I mean, we've done it. We've seen it. And now it's mental. We don't need to be beating up on each other. We know how to run a post route. We know how to, swim move. I mean, we know that stuff. So now it's more mental. And you can do that when you played the schedule that we've played. It's like a boxer. You want to be the heavyweight champ. You better be able to fight everybody. You better be able to fight a southpaw, a slugger, a boxer, a technician. And you get that by playing those type of schedules that we've seen it all. We've seen every front you can see. We've seen every offensive scheme you can see. We've seen it. And it's just made us such a better team. Hey, I'm on the phone.
Coach Will, man, I gotta take this one, man, because you were my head coach. I know how you prepare. I was blessed enough to play under you. I think there's a lot of people that can say the same thing. You changed lives. You changed my life. And every time I get the opportunity, I want to make sure everybody understands the power that this guy has and what he did for my life and what he continues to do. But going based off that, I also want to talk about a guy that you added this year, which a lot of people may not know or they do know. I want to talk about the addition of Billy Daniels. Billy Daniels is a phenomenal coach. He was actually one of my coaches when I was at Boone before I left and went to play under you, which was still the best decision I ever made. But just talk about Billy Daniels. Talk about the addition of him and what he brings defensively that you probably haven't had in years to come, and what has prepared your team to be ready for this moment Friday and then hopefully a state title in a couple of weeks just because he's there.
Yeah, Coach Daniels, he's a phenomenal coach. We're glad to have him. When I had the opportunity to hire him, I jumped at it. And he's kind of like myself. He's a humble guy. He don't want titles. He don't want you to say, oh, he just comes to work, does his job, and he goes about his business. And he does tremendous wonders with our kids. He's a great communicator with them. So he can communicate with them. And this Jones, we got some kids that I'm telling you, it's hard to talk to them, hard to reach them. We got some firebombs, but he does a great job. Coaching is more than X and O. And everybody that knows Coach Daniels know he's great, a phenomenal X and O guy. But most importantly, he's a relationship guy. He knows how to communicate with the guys, and those are the guys that are successful. Everybody can draw a curl flat route. Everybody can draw a Mills route or a 4-3 defense, but can you relate to your kids in where they can play fast? And that's what he brings, and that's what he does for us.
No, I thought it was an ingenious move. I mean, why not bring an offensive genius over to coach your defense?
Oh yeah. And no knock on other guys. We've had great defensive coaches before. Yeah, like I said, we've been to the last 4 out of 5 regional championships. So we didn't have coaches. We had great guys. So I lost a great guy, and to get him to come in and we just do what we're doing, it's just phenomenal. I'm very thankful.
No, there's no doubt. Your Elijah Williams coaching tree is starting to branch out. We're talking about Andy Anderson, who goes over and gets his head coaching job over at Oak Ridge, and you got to feel good as a head coach for those guys to have those opportunities.
Yeah, it's awesome. It makes it tougher in the summer trying to replace them. It's not too many big Coach Billy Daniels out there walking around.
Yeah.
So I think we looked up with that. I mean, it was funny because in coaching staff, everybody was talking about kids transferring and kids going here and kids going to all these other schools. And I told them, I said, we won the transfer portal. We got Coach Daniels. We got Coach Daniels.
Hey, not only
Larry?
did you win the. Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Larry.
Good. No, I was
go
just
ahead,
going to
Larry.
ask, Coach. A lot of people make a lot about the offense, and obviously it's a really potent offense. Talk about your defense, because that's a pretty active defense secondary-wise, and your front seven's improved vastly from the beginning of the year.
Yes, we lost a lot. We lost a lot on both sides of the ball this year, so we really didn't know what type of team we would have, and especially with the slow start. But we knew that defense had to keep us in it because we so young. We got 9 new starters on offense, so we knew they had to keep us in it, and they've been playing well. And the thing is, we only have one Power 5 guy over there. I mean,
Right.
we got our linebackers are 5'9", all of them. Our safeties are 5'9", all of them. We don't have one guy over 6 foot or 5'11" in the back end, from linebackers to safeties to corners. And they're just ball players. They are high school, gritty, tough-nosed ball players. And they've been playing. I mean, you just look at the progression over the year, man. They've been playing lights out for us.
Right.
Yes.
Coach, before I get going, I just I asked this of Coach Schneider, and I know you feel the same way. What goes on in May, June, July, and August kind of pays off now. And I saw you during the off season put your stuff together at the 7-on-7 at USF, and then I think you really put the stamp when you came down to Miami and beat all those teams with those kind of funky looking uniforms that you had. But nevertheless, talk about that. What about the off season and how it benefits you now.
Off season is crucial, man. It's not only with your team bonding, you get to learn your guys. New guys got to step into to starting roles and leadership roles, and then you get to compete, because then you get to see how they respond to defeat, how they respond to a bad play, how they respond to coaching. You really get a extra season in before the season starts, so you kind of know your guys. So it's so important for that summer, that early summer, early fall period, to get out there and just be with your guys. You put your concepts in, and defense and offensively concepts in, and then you get it rolling. We was fortunate we had a lot of young guys, but we was fortunate we had all of them there for the most part. And like you said, we got it rolling in South Florida. And the funny thing is, to be honest with you, we had some transfers in. We had Renee Brown come in on Monday. We had one practice Monday morning and went, and he was a MVP of the South Florida 7-on-7.
Yeah, well, he's a cheat code anyway, Coach. Come on now.
Yeah.
He's a whole different level of play, and I had a chance to watch his uncles and his dad play at the college level, and he's definitely a cheat code.
Yeah, he makes me look like I know what I'm doing.
So I gotta get going, guys. Thanks so much, Dan. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
All right, guys.
All right. So, I want to go back to the defense. Everybody knows about DeAndre Robinson, the Texas commit, but I'm going to tell you one of the kids that I thought was very impressive, and that was Tyron Randall. Really has stepped up his game this year. And obviously George Brown, I think it was your safety, right? George is the safety. Those guys have played lights out on defense.
Right. It's been amazing to watch. And I think you forgot 99, Dallas Coy. Our nose tackle
as well,
5'6", 250 pounds, dripping wet. But man, look at here, he's an animal. It's crazy, because when he got hurt versus Oviedo, we kept him out. We said we knew we couldn't beat Edgewood without him. So he got hurt like the first drive versus Oviedo. So you done, and he could have came back and played. So we done. We need him. So we kept him out the whole game, and fortunately, we was fortunate enough to get him back. And like you said, he's playing lights out. Tyron Randall is playing like a possessed man out on the edge of his first time playing defense. And then you have George Brown, which is really the heart and soul of our team. And all those guys are not Power 5 guys. They're not even FBS guys, according to what the colleges say. But, man, they are playing lights out. I'm with Trey. We expect that from Trey. You're a Texas commit. We expect him to do great things, and he is. But for those guys, and then Tariq Hollinger, another 5'9", 180-pound guy. We have a lot of guys that are playing lights out.
Baylin, I'm gonna give you the last question, man.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna just say Schneider also told me off the record that was the best linebacking core he's played against, and that's all year, and that's against St. Thomas, Venice. Because they're so fast, and they get out of there, it really kind of disrupts their concepts. So I know with that speed, obviously Jones used it to advantage, because not a lot of people have that speed, and regardless of size, it's gonna cause some problems, especially in your vision. But I want to talk about obviously the position that I train. That I played, for you, Coach, and talk about the addition of Trevor Jackson, obviously a kid that was a high-profile kid coming into Jones, and then Darion Coleman. I believe, again, I told you years ago, before he even came to Jones, there was a kid I was working with that he was arguably going to be the best kid I ever trained. His arm talent is freakish. I've never seen nothing like it. He's very calm in the pocket. He doesn't show any emotion, even keel kid. He's just a special talent. So talk about the dynamic of having two quarterbacks that can legit start on anybody's roster in the entire state, and how that affects your game plan, your scheme going into these big matchups.
Well, most importantly, I just hats off to those two guys. You get 2 4-star quarterbacks that can go start anywhere, and they've welcomed it. They haven't caused any negativity at all. They support each other, and they even understand, Trevor started Edgewater, so we came to practice on Monday. Darren went with the starters. They know we alternating, and they understand. Hey, your turn, let's go, and they support each other, and that's hard. That is hard to find 15, 16, 17-year-olds in high school that should be playing the whole entire game, should be setting records. And their team, and they say, this is the team, this is the situation, this is a scenario. I welcome it, I embrace it. And it's just for our team. They see it, they see these two guys, and they genuinely like each other. They genuinely support each other. So that's part of the hugest aspect of our team success is those two. You know, if you look at the first 3 games, we turned the ball over 9 times. Since then, we turned it over once in 10 games. 1 turnover in 10 games. And I heard you earlier, we had both of them didn't throw an incomplete pass. And it wasn't just them. Christian Roberts threw a trick play, and he completed it too. So we had 0 incompletions in a playoff game, which is crazy. But those guys, they welcome the challenge, and they both got different strengths. And we've learned, and it took me some time to really put them in there and put them in a situation where they can do what they do best. And so that's on me to do that. It took me a little while to get it done, but now we feel very comfortable in what the game plan is for both guys when they're out on the field.
No, and I want to make a comment on this because Baylin and I talked about that at the beginning of the season is how is that going to work? And I have to give you a lot of that credit, Coach, is the fact that you set that tone for them to understand what their roles were going to be. And that's not an easy thing to do. You know, Baylin and I both are former quarterbacks. There's a little bit of ego involved there. And it's tough. It is tough, especially when you got a sophomore and a senior. And I tell you what, we're wishing you all the best this Friday night. I mean, it's Team Central Florida right now, and it's time to put the cap on South Florida.
You're right. I agree. And if the one thing they got to do, they got to fix these classifications so we ain't knocking each other out.
Listen, we said on the show last week, it's a shame that Edgewater Jones have to knock each other out early.
That's crazy. Yeah, and you got the Seminole and Lake Mary. Was Seminole Lake Mary? Knock each other out. You got these teams that should be. I mean, they got to fix that. They got to fix that. There's no and then especially when this disparity in the number of the total enrollment between us and the Edgewaters. We had the lowest. We was the smallest school in 3M, the smallest. So so we hope they fix that. We team Central Florida too. We want more teams to go. Is good for our brand of football here in Central Florida.
And we've had a great last few weeks. It's been exciting to be able to come on the show and talk about the programs and really congratulate them for even being there. And it's been wonderful. But, hey, we know you got a road trip to get prepared for. Good luck to the Jones Tigers as you guys head down south and take on Homestead.
Yeah, and we just want to thank a huge thank you to Central Florida. I mean, playing Edgewater, playing with Kava, playing Dr. Phillips, playing those teams, Oviedo, is prepared us for our playoffs. So, we hope they're rooting for us, and then we team Orlando, and our guys, we're going to come out ready to play. Thank you for having me on.
All right, that is Coach Elijah Williams of the Jones Tigers. Little Will.
Yeah, that's my little one.
All right, so Baylin and I are going to be back with our final thoughts. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Baylin Trujillo. Baylin, another great show, man. We got to go through the entire state with Larry Blustein. We got to have a great interview with Coach Elijah Williams from Jones. And we just lost you. Where is he at? And we found him. There's Baylin, man. I tell you what,
Guys,
technical difficulties tonight.
No, I want to shout out. Here we go. I'm going to shout out all of them because this is crazy. How many calls I get within an hour. Shout out to the Grubbs family. Shout out to Davy Belfort. Shout out to Jamel Jones. Shout out to Coach Will. Shout out to Cameron Duke. Shout out to all these guys, man. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me. I love you guys. But I'm trying to do this show, man. I love this show.
Leave us alone Wednesday night from 6 to 7. That's all we got to say.
Yeah, just stop blowing me up, man. I'll call you. I promise. Love you guys.
All right, so listen, we had Blue on, we've had Elijah, we had Coach Ryan Schneider. I tell you what, we're set up for Central Florida to be very successful this weekend.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm pulling for all of them. I think all the teams win this week in Central Florida. I believe Cocoa wins by a landslide. I believe Mainland does make a statement against Vanguard. That will be a tough game. I think that's the toughest one. I do think Jones takes care of Homestead. Homestead is waiting for a team to catch them slipping because they do make a lot of mistakes, and we watch that. And, Miramar is a good team, but they're not solid. I think Jones does handle business. And then who's our fourth team in Central Florida?
The land down at Venice, Coach John
Right.
Peacock.
And I believe that's going to be we would consider the biggest upset of the weekend. I believe DeLand beats Venice on the road, and I just don't bet against Darlington. So I'm excited, Dan. We're gonna have maybe potentially 4 Central Florida teams. Man, we might have to buckle up and take a trip to Tallahassee if one of these teams make it and cover that game from the sidelines. But regardless, all the teams, they deserve a pat on the back and a great job to all their coaching. I believe they should all get raises. The state of Florida needs to figure out that deal because winning is not easy here in the state of Florida with all the talent, and we're the least paid of all the states, which makes no sense because we bring the most talent. But regardless, congratulations, and I'm excited for some football, Dan. Let's get to Friday.
No doubt about it. We're going to be back next week prepping for the state championship games. I'm Dan LaForest. That's Baylin Trujillo. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show, and we will see you next Wednesday night.